Anything else for this run? What about that rack of wine? He asked, nodding over at my pride and joy. In a cold storage unit? I was aghast. Absolutely not. The temperature would ruin it. Would it? A few bottles of supermarket plonk? That's not plonk. I'll have you know that's my pension in disguise. A conciliatory meow sounded from behind the sofa, and Basil's tail periscoped its way around to see us. Hello, my little tiny baby, I said, picking him up and cuddling him tight. He wrestled his way out of my arms and lurched onto the floor, giving me a dirty look, before winding in and out of George's legs, purring rhythmically. Traitor. He loves you so much, I said, smiling. George tried to move away, brushing frantically at the white hairs left on his trousers as Basil backed him into a corner. Shoo! No, thank you. Away, please. Honestly, Holes, I think I'm allergic to him, he said, rubbing his eyes. He was being outmanoeuvred. You've lived here for nearly 3 years, George. I think you'd know by now if you were genuinely allergic. Love me, love my cat. We'd given long distance a shot for a while after uni, but London to Leeds was too much of a schlep every other weekend, and eventually, George had moved into my tiny flat in London. He still went back to Sheffield once a month to see his mum, but he said the work opportunities were better in London, so it made sense to live down south for our careers. Although my career was now mainly drinking wine and peeling potatoes. I can't wait until we move into the new house. We're going to have so much space, George said, edging his way past Basil and picking up my pink poof. That can't go yet, I said, grabbing it off him. I need somewhere to put my feet. And this? George asked, picking up my cardboard cutout of Gordon Ramsay. Absolutely not. Gordon keeps my culinary standards in check. He's staying to the bitter end, I said, propping him back up in the kitchen. He can have his own bedroom in the new house, George said dreamily. 3 bedrooms instead of 1, a massive TV on the wall and space for my table football. I said, taking a long look at all the character in my little flat. The sash windows, the exposed brick walls, the fireplace and the wooden beams. It would all be plasterboard and plastic in the new place, but I suppose it would be safer and more secure. No more drafts rattling through the windows at night. How long do cats live again? He asked, backing out the front door. Get used to him, I shouted as it slammed shut. There was a huge space where the boxes had been, and I could finally see my fluffy raspberry carpet again. Basil curled into a white furry ball and closed his eyes as I took a large gulp of wine, savouring the rich, heady taste of a classic Italian red, before wrestling another cardboard box into shape. I bubble-wrapped the porcelain dish I'd bought from Portobello Market, still full of angel cards, the green glass balls from Venice, and the candlesticks Mum and Dad had bought me as a housewarming gift. It felt strange emptying my little flat of all its meanness, but George was right. It would save us a month's rent, and it was only for a few weeks. I hadn't planned to take my candlesticks on honeymoon, so I had to suck it up and pack it all away. We just needed enough stuff to get us through our wedding, and everything else would be safe until the house was ready. I spotted our wedding blackboard on the mantelpiece and picked up the blue chalk, rubbing out the number 31 and replacing it with a nice, fat 30. Days until we say I do. 30 days until our happily ever after. 2. 4 weeks to the wedding, 12th of August. I carefully slid the cork out of the Pomerol Le Pen and breathed in the familiar scent of a heady French red. The undertones were so rich they were almost meaty, and blackberries and plums whooshed happily up my nose as I gave the cork a second sniff. The table of 6 watched closely as I tipped a soupçon into the host's glass. Perfect pairing for his steak. The 2015 vintage, I said, with a confident nod. It was their best in a decade. Yes, of course, the man said, his half-moon specks quivering as he swirled the thick, cherry liquid enthusiastically and watched the drips run slowly down the glass. He inhaled deeply and closed his eyes. Lovely, really lovely, he said, slurping a mouthful, sucking it into his teeth and giving a delicate gargle.